nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. It's their territory. I'm not going to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. But it appears to me that at some point along the line, there's going to have to be a negotiated settlement here.
That was President Biden earlier today. As the war in Ukraine enters its 100th day with no end in sight, the U.S. seems to be placing new emphasis on the need for a negotiated settlement between Ukraine and Russia. And I'm not coming to that conclusion based on this single comment from the president today. Last week, when President Biden wrote an op-ed announcing his decision to send advanced rocket systems and munitions to Ukraine, he also mentioned the words negotiation and negotiating several times. At one point, he even said, quote, "We have moved quickly to send Ukraine a significant amount of weaponry and ammunition so it can fight on the battlefield and be in the strongest possible position at the negotiating table." And then today, CNN is reporting this, quote, "U.S. officials have in recent weeks been meeting regularly with their British and European counterparts to discuss potential frameworks for a ceasefire and for ending the war through a negotiated settlement." But at this point, neither the Ukrainians nor the Russians who started this war with their illegal invasion, appear to be backing down. So who will blink first? How long can this go on? And how much should we, the United States, be investing in this war going forward? Joining us now to discuss this are retired four-star Air Force General and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Philip Breedlove and Democratic Congressman Khanna from the great state of California, a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Congressman Khanna, let me start with you. Western governments are proposing, or at least hinting at the need for a negotiated ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia at this moment in time. Is that the right call?
I think the president has handled the situation absolutely correctly. Look, we've provided $40 billion of aid to Ukraine. That's about 10 times their original defense budget. They have brilliantly fought to resist Russia. It's now off the table that Putin is going to be able to take the country or take Kiev. And the president is right that ultimately we need a negotiated settlement. But the negotiation can't just be Zelensky. It also has to be Putin. And we have to ask, what is Putin willing to do to negotiate the ceasefire?
General Breedlove, President Biden's hinting at negotiation sounds kind of different to what Secretary of Defense Austin said back in April, that the goal was to weaken Russia's military, to prevent them from doing the kinds of things it's done in Ukraine. Is that no longer the goal? Has something changed? Where are we in this war, in your view?
Well, I can't speak for the Department of Defense on what they see are the goals, nor for the president. But what we are seeing is that Russia, it continues to press and take land in Ukraine. And any settlement between Ukraine and Russia should be in Mr. Zelensky's terms. He is the aggrieved nation. Their sovereignty has been violated in a horrible, criminal, inhumane way. And what we can't do in the long run is once again reward bad behavior by Mr. Putin. We'll just see more of it in the future if we do.
Just to be clear, how do you define rewarding bad behavior? If there is a deal that allows Putin to keep Crimea indefinitely, which, let's be honest, everyone knows he's going to do, but also allows him to, I don't know, pretend that some of these quote-unquote republics in the East are now autonomous, is that something that's not acceptable? Is it up to Americans or Europeans to say what is or isn't acceptable? I'm just intrigued to know, like, are there red lines?
Those are up to President Zelensky. He needs to determine what's acceptable in his country, his sovereign country. And that's what we should be supporting, is what President Zelensky chooses to go forward with.
So just to be clear, before I go back to the congressman, if the Ukrainians did a deal with Russia that allowed Russia to keep a bunch of Ukrainian land, you would be all right with that, even though you think we shouldn't reward Vladimir Putin?
I personally would support what President Zelensky would want to do, but that would not be my recommendation to him. In 2008, our response to Georgia was inadequate to task. In 2014, our response to Russia in Ukraine was inadequate to task. And in all of these cases, we rewarded bad behavior by allowing Putin to hang on to land. If we reward bad behavior here again, it's like a 2-year-old child. We'll see more bad behavior in the future.
Congressman, what's your reaction to General Breedlove's argument? Have we been rewarding Vladimir Putin for bad behavior? Would a peace deal that allowed him to keep a chunk of Ukrainian land be another reward for a quote-unquote 2-year-old child?
Well, maybe look, there's no doubt that Putin is solely to blame, and he's had a brutal invasion that is killing Ukrainians. The question, though, is how do we bring this to an end? The consequence is more Ukrainians are going to die, more innocent people are going to die. So how do we have Ukraine's sovereignty protected and not more death and not a war that lasts years? I mean, Putin was brutal in Syria. He just went year after year after year. And that's why I believe that President Biden is being responsible, as is President Macron, as is Italy, as is Germany, by saying, yes, we're going to stand fully 100% with Ukraine, but we're also going to do everything we can to encourage negotiations, to encourage Zelensky and Putin to talk, to explore a potential ceasefire on the terms that Zelensky agrees to, and asking Putin what he's trying to achieve. I don't understand how taking Mariupol is in any way in Russia's strategic interest. So Putin also has to be willing to come to the table.